Good afternoon and good evening, viewers. Welcome to the 19th episode of Classroom Presents the Tech Talk. On this episode of Classroom, we have Mikkel, our guest. He is the HR manager from Seven Senders. He is joining us today to talk and share his insights on HR and recruitment related topics. We are going to discuss a lot of interesting things today. So let's get started. Hey, Mikkel.
Hi. Hi, Raj. How are you doing?
I'm doing it. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. A bit nervous.
Super excited to. Me and Suman were super excited to have you on the show because in the last times what the shows we had on different technical streams, there are so many audience who are asking to do a show on with a HR. Because everybody was right now super excited about know the recruitment, what is happening and what's going to happen. So yes, thanks for being on the show from our side and also from our audience side.
Well, like I said, I'm super excited. Looking forward for it.
Awesome. So let's get started. So can you give a little introduction to our audience?
About myself, yes, sure, of course. So my name is Michael. I'm one of the human resource managers at our company, Seven Senders. I joined Seven Senders in April last year. I'm mainly focusing on the recruiting topics, but also I'm in contact with all the other matters in HR. Before my time at Seven Senders, I also worked as a recruiter, mostly. For example, for a big unicorn here in Berlin that is focusing on the automotive industry, used car market a bit. And before that, I worked in an agency as an interim recruiter. So basically, I joined forces with companies that needed a recruiter right away, worked on their projects, and therefore I've seen lots of different companies from a small startup or even pre-startup phase, like two founders having finally getting their funding and were able to start a team, so they needed people, up to global corporations from pharma to pharma industry to insurance industry. So I've seen some so far.
Wow. Amazing.
And sorry. And that, towards me, not just my career. I live in Berlin since 2012. I'm 39 years old, and hobby-wise, I like to cook and I like classic cars.
Oh, nice. Actually, the second part was really interesting for me.
Okay. Are you into classic cars as well?
No, I heard about it. Actually, I want to try sometime.
Oh, okay. Well, we can dive deeper into that later, maybe.
Yeah, true. This is a special opportunity because most of the time, HRs are the one who does the interview. But this time I was doing interview to HR.
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask you one question, because we work together. I really very much know about you. You always look very engaged and interesting in this job. For me personally, it looks like. So what actually drives you to HR, and what is that you really like being a HR?
Okay, yes. Well, first of all, thank you for saying that. So when I made my career decision, I chose business psychology as my my university degree, and I always saw myself as the middleman between the business side and the people. So, as you can imagine, the business side is based on decisions. They have to follow paradigmas. Sorry for the bad English. Yeah. Paradigmas, rules of efficiency, of course. Like if you want to be successful at something, you have to also do it in a efficient way, because otherwise the competitors would just eat you, or they would just do the same what you're doing, but just more efficient, better. So the business side always has a focus on that one. that is totally normal in a normal business environment. On the other side, I do understand that if you're focusing on that and if you're really good with that, you might, not all of them, but some might lose the people in the whole thing as well, because it is, a good company is just only the product of all the variables in it. So from my point of view, the people are the most vital one, because you can have a very good product at the right time, and you know how to use processes to turn this all into something. But in the end, it's always people that turn it into something.
Right.
So even if you like have the best idea at the best time, and everyone would buy that, you need to have people to help you actually building up a company. And I do understand that you can get lost a bit as management, maybe, or maybe not, in these numbers, and you're just focusing on numbers, trying to do that, and you might not have the whole impact on it. Sometimes, even on the numbers, everything sounds great. Like, hey, let's reduce, for example, these and these things. We can hire more people, and therefore we make more revenue, and in the end, we make more money. But these changes in the process, they will affect people, and management also needs specialists to explain them, hey, there's some things that you cannot put in numbers sometimes even. And I think it is important to vouch for the people, like to speak up for the people, to say and kind of put the people point of view, the workers' point of view into the minds of the management, so that, because they don't want to do that, like just by initially, because they don't care. They sometimes don't have all the informations and all the outcome of something, of changing the process. This is something that really that I'm really interested in, to be you can say a moderator, like a middleman, like in between. But it's also, and I think we will come to the question, is asking for some various skills for that.
Okay, that sounds good. So, what kind of a work culture you really would like to build between, when you say like between people? I mean, like the company and the people. When you said like to be a bridge, what kind of a work culture you always love and to have?
Good question. So, working culture always works if you. So I'm just looking for a word here. If you not implement, but if you let the people participate in things. You cannot participate the people in everything. First of all, it makes you slow. Second of all, some decisions are hard to make, and you cannot make this decision just in order for the majority of the people would like that. Sometimes you have to make bad decisions, and this is also something that people probably, if they face that, they don't really want to switch jobs with them. So if you can build a culture where both sides trust each other, one side, the management trusts the employees, that they work, they're always punctual, they do speak up, and they always do what they can. And I'm not saying they have to work all the time at the highest capacity they can, but as trust, as in they know how to settle their resources, because you would just burn out after a while. And on the other hand, the people trusting management, as in that they make the decision, yes, under business circumstances, but also in the way of, hey, we have to make a decision that we can, for example, protect our people from losing their jobs, from working in not very healthy environments. And I'm not talking about hazards at your workplace. I'm talking about, for example, overtime. So so they do the budgeting right, and this is not easy. So and every now and then there will be things that are not working out on both sides. But as long as you can have a culture where both sides trust each other, then it's going to be okay. It's going to work out. Which is tough, which is super tough. I'm not saying that's easy, but that would be ideal. You asked for the ideal thing. I think that would be ideal. So you're basically giving some trust, like forward even, and you trust them to make the right decisions, and also you trust your workers, your employees to basically be able to turn the things that you planned into reality.
That is true. I completely agree with it, because even in my experience that I've seen companies which actually more focused on delivery and doing things, but not on people and work culture, and how even they tried, they can't deliver it. So it always comes to, holding the employees back, giving them a satisfaction at work, and making them productive. So I completely believe that the employees who are 100% satisfied gives more productivity to the company.
Yeah, I totally would sign that statement.
I totally completely agree with you, whatever you said. And continuing to that, see, I'm a tech guy. I know how to deal with machines and what skills I need to learn to deal with the machine. Okay, but you're the people who deal with the people. So what kind of a skills you need to develop to deal with the people?
Yes, I know where this question is going to. So not basically binaries, not binary skills, sorry. And I'm not a techie. I have very limited understanding. But I know what you mean. So basically, what if it comes to these things that you can't really measure or say, hey, this is either this or this? So to rephrase your question, what kind of skills would you need? Or sorry.
I mean, like, what kind of skills the HR should possess?
Yes. It depends, because HR has a very variety of fields that you could build up your career in. And it depends on the fields, what kind of skill set you would need to bring. So maybe I just state, like, if you look into theory and books or Wikipedia, for example, you see 7 fields of HR in theory. So there's talent acquisition or recruiting, compensation management, benefits administration, training, and yes, I've written them down before. This is why I'm reading them. Training and development, 3, 4. Performance appraisal management, employee and labor relations, and compliance management. So this is like the standard ones. It really depends on the company, how big it is, how well structured it is, how old it is. Also, to find these 7. Or find people in these 7 positions, at 6, 7. So with lots of companies that I've seen so far, it's rather broken down to, and some people, they would cover 2 of these fields. For example, you could put benefits administration, sometimes with recruitment, sometimes it's with people operations. People operations will house or put, you can put lots of these topics under people operations. So it's not always like that, but to get back to your question, for all these different areas in HR, you need a different skill set. You can also, and this is not even really in here, HR analytics you could put in here. So basically controlling. So a bunch of controlling these things. You could put this also with finance. And to answer your question, so I would say for recruiting, ideally you have someone that is, first of all, good at networking, really good in communication, not just knows how to talk, but also can talk in the right language to the right people. I'm not talking about English and German in our case, for example, but you would address as a CPO in a different way, maybe as a junior. So you need to be able to switch and to kind of have an understanding of like how to communicate with these different types of levels or whatever. It doesn't, and it depends on the company. Some companies, they don't really make a big difference. Other companies, the hierarchy is very strong, and you really need to know, like, what are the basically what is expected. Also, languages is a good skill set. If you can hire and you speak fluent English, German, and let's say French here in Germany, that's pretty good. Or I don't know, for like any other language, basically opens a new market, so that works.
Awesome.
Yeah, that is for recruiting. The other skill set, let's say, people's operations, which is interesting. I think this is people operations like one of the core fields in HR, and this is probably the most mysterious one from the outside, because you're working on things, like I said, you can work on compensation or management or benefits. So you have to actually set up a range. If you have a good structured company, you're setting up salary ranges, because same person doing kind of the same job, either in this department or a different one, should earn the same money. So that is important to have a structure there. And so these are things that you could work on. Also, HR laws in Germany are pretty precise. There's lots of them. They also change sometimes by the year, so you have to implement new laws, get ready for that. And these changes are company-wide, so you have to prepare these things. The thing is, and I get, this was one of the most HR things next to recruiting that people see from the outside. And then they think, HR is not really doing things. They're just sitting there. The problem is, in HR, you can't really share what you're working on all the time, because some things are you cannot really discuss, because you just have to prepare something. Management will look it up and say, oh, actually, this is not what we want, or this is not working, so we cannot make this like official, like we cannot implement it. So lots of the stuff also, well, not lots, but some of the stuff always just will never be used, or not at this point. So you cannot really share this information. And I do get that HR is a bit of a black box every now and then. Like you can only see from the outside, but you don't know what's going on inside. With recruiting, it's different. It's rather transparent, I would say, because, well, if the recruiting department is looking for a job, then you can already see it on the company career page. So you know, okay, they're working on this right now, and it gets announced because of onboarding. You have to go in there. But I'm kind of getting away from your question to finalize that. Lots of different skills. So for people operations, it's rather being able to research things, know your field, like for example, German labor law, or good presentation skills, so you can break down even very complex matters into like smaller things to make it easier to understand. Or if you're in analytics, then, well, all the skills of an analyst. So being good with numbers, presenting things, working very thoroughly, like do not mix things up, and being able to do forecasts and these things. So it's quite of a wide range, I would say. And if there's one last thing, I think one of the most used skills in all of them is to stay flexible. In recruiting, you have to be flexible, because you cannot just plan your week, for example, because the stakeholders are the candidates, and they're like customers. You have to follow their rules and their timelines. So you were talking to a candidate, and he says, well, I'm going on vacation now, I will be back in 2 weeks. Then your timeline is 2 weeks. If he says, well, I cannot work I cannot talk to you on Wednesday and Thursday, so you meet on Friday. So you have to be very flexible, but also in HR, you have to have, especially in startup, you have to have a flexible mindset, while also, on the contrary, you have to be very compliant. So if you set up a rule and you set up processes, you have to follow them. So it's kind of a bit bipolar.
I understand, it's true. And there is one point that you mentioned, that people think HR, they don't have much work. That is true, actually. The work of a HR, that what you said is exactly true. Like, it's a black box. People really think, because I need to accept that I was in a misconception before on this, actually, because when I was applying for the jobs and like I was waiting for the HR round, the final one, I'm like, HR is not contacting me. I used to gave him so many calls, and like he don't used to respond. My cousin, my brother, he was like a senior HR back in India, so he used to tell me, guys, HRs are so busy, and I used to ask him, like, what do you guys do, like, so busy?
Yeah.
Then he told me one day in his activities and all. I was like, oh. And okay, so on that, okay, on an average, how many people do you screen for a one job on an average? I'm like, how many
Well,
profiles do you?
okay. Yes, no, totally fine. It really depends. It really depends on the position. But in general, of course, for a junior position, and I think you know what I'm talking about, you can screen up to 150 people and then derive maybe 10, 15 candidates from that. It depends. It really depends on the position. But rather, it is like that the junior positions, because people, first of all, it is harder. And I have the same background. It wasn't that easy for me. Just university is your first job. I had to write some applications. Probably not as much as if you're trying to relocate to a new country. I totally understand that. But I do remember that is even for someone speaking German with a German degree and already I had a year of experience, it wasn't that easy to find a job. So I can kind of relate how bad it is sometimes, not always. So screening through positions for junior role, depending on the field, in tech, I don't know, the less niche it is, the more obviously applications do you get. That doesn't mean that all of these candidates they would actually qualify for the jobs. My experience is the more junior the position is, the more kind of variety of applications I get, and I know we will come to this later. COVID at the moment has a strong impact on the hiring market, on the job market, on the hiring. And I do see lots of people that apply for jobs they are not fitting for. And I can only imagine they're doing that because they're getting a bit, they're running out of options. It depends. But it is funny that you're asking, so how many people do you screen? Because with some positions, it's the other way around. It's completely other way around. There's nothing coming in. It's not. We open the position, and no one is applying for that because, and this is kind of think of a pyramid a bit. So you have lots of people that are not so qualified yet, and they want into the job market. But the higher you get, the less it gets, and this is where we have a problem. So we do not screen so many people for, let's say, a senior or team lead position. Team lead is rather an upskill again, because lots of people want to go from either directly like mid, so professional, or senior into a team lead one. But the seniors, for example, it's tough. Even especially if you're looking, because sometimes the job description asks for it. If you're looking for a German speaker, then you have weeks of no one applying, or just like a week, and you have to, well, as a recruiter, you have to make sure to still find candidates, so you contact them right away.
Okay. So what is the most difficult recruitment that you had? Tell me. I really want to know.
Before I answer that, I can just see that the clouds are moving in here. We're going into, like, for our international viewers, we're going into the evening. So just let me know if it gets too dark here. And if I'm going too much, I have a light here that I can put on. Just let me know. So the most difficult position I had was with the recruiting agency I worked for as an interim recruiter. And we got in contact with a global, worldwide working pharma corporation. And they normally, either they didn't have enough capacity, or they normally wouldn't do really the approach of actively seeking candidates and approaching them. And the profile they had was super tough. So the title was, they were looking for a team lead. Was a team lead for their oncology, so cancer, oncology team. And this person had to have a doctor's title, so a PhD in medicine. So not biology, it had to be medicine. several years of experience in leading teams up to second thing. He definitely had to have the background of oncology, and there are some backgrounds that are very close. So in the end, this profile, and this is what they told us in the front, up front, they said, we know or we expect that there are 20 people in Germany that kind of fit this profile, and that's it. And so the hard part about this was to understand what they wanted, because before that I had just very limited experience with pharma. So I had to understand the role, understand what they're doing, and where to find these people, because some of them, they were not on Xing or LinkedIn at this time. So it kind of was a success, because in the end we found at least 30 people, and they were really excited. Like, what? We didn't even know it was that. And, so they could choose from them, and we reached out to some, and I got a positive reply. So it kind of worked, but that was tough. So the more niche a profile is, niche as in there's not so many, the harder it is.
You know, when you say that it is tough, actually there is one thing really I think the job of a HR is really tough. That is like rejecting or like saying no to a candidate, because I do a lot of, because I was also in an interview panel, because I work in a technical interview panel in my previous company. So what I do is I just do the interviews, and I just say the candidate that HR will let you know the feedback, the cliche. So HR is the one who has to handle it. How do you guys really handle when you're saying no to a person? I mean, like,
you mean technically or on an emotional level, as in handling with all the rejections?
I mean, both. I mean, like, I really understand both ways, actually. How do you handle it?
Sorry, I didn't got the last one. Bored, as in what?
No, I mean, like, in both ways. I mean, I really want to know more in an emotional level. How do you say no to a candidate?
So, well, first of all, as a recruiter, your job is to find the right people for the company. So it has an impact on the team, the team well-being, because if you just find a nice person, or if you have compassion to someone, look like, oh, this person was without a job for so long, and it would be really fair to give him a chance, and he might even deserve it. What if his technical skills are not good enough to keep up with the team? They will have to cover for him, and they will suffer. And he will suffer because the team suffers, and there's too much pain. So first of all, that is the first, and this is where you always have to come back to as a recruiter. You have to find the right guy. Sometimes it's not the technical stuff, because it wouldn't be great for a team if you find a person that can do everything you're asking for, but he's not a nice guy. He's just not interested in the team, or worse. So you have to find the right balance. So this is your ideal goal. On the other hand, you will have applications from lots of people. Some make it a bit easier to reject them, because you can clearly see they haven't read the job description, because they try to give it a long shot, as in, yes, I do not have all the requirements, but then again, it's always like this, and this is I don't know, I wouldn't really say that that's a good approach, to say, hey, I don't have all of that, I still apply. It might work, but just don't put in too much expectations if you do. Just to not get hurt yourself. And I totally understand both sides. So the hardest part is if you had a candidate in the process, because as a recruiter, of course, you want to find the right person, and you want to do it quickly, as in, I think it's getting a bit dark here, just a second.
Yep.
Is that better? A bit better, okay.
Yeah.
So you want to, you also want to fill these positions, first of all, because you know the team behind there, they need support, they need to back up. So this has to happen. Also from a work, from a workload kind of approach, which is also a thing. You want to hire this so you can focus on the next thing. You don't want to, I don't know, take 6 months to hire a junior, for example. So you have to also make progress, but still handling all these, I have to admit, it is a bit tough at sometimes because, and I'm not saying that to shock people out there, but sometimes you have to reject 100 people on a job because either it depends, they don't have the right skills, or, and this is rather to understand the process. And I know I'm stretching the topic here a little bit, but maybe this helps if you get a rejection sometimes for a job that you apply to, and it was the perfect fit. Like all the requirements, and you still got it. Like, what is it? Was it the sales expectation? Sometimes it's the process itself. It's so you came across this job, and it's open on the market for, let's say, 6 weeks. So there's already people in the process. It's totally normal. And the department and they already screen candidates, and they have already 3 favorites, and some of them sticking out, and they might already be in the offer stage. So you send in your application, but the process is kind of done. You do not close the position right away because until you hired someone, because that would be also not right as well. I had candidates I sent an offer to, and we were all clear on, and I was very much expecting these candidates to start. And in the last minute, or I even had to, some of them are even ghosting, which is really hard as a recruiter because you don't know what's going on. They would just decline the offer. And then if you had just closed down the job description 2 weeks before to not raise expectations in people applying, you would be there without good candidates and without someone else to hire, because you would hire someone. Of course, you do not put 10 people in there. No one's doing that. It's like, hey, if we don't hire this one, then we hire the next one. Or if we hire this one, reject the 9 others. Recruiting doesn't work like that. Recruiting also follows efficiency. And because we do take the time of the department has to take time off. Time costs money, of course. So I think if you're a good recruiter, you always have like 2 candidates, tops 3 in the process that would be able to be a good match. And this is tough already. Like sometimes you have 1, and that's it. So, and this is where some of the rejections are coming from. It really depends on the timing. This is not the fault of the people that are applying, and not the fault of the recruiter. It's just when you go on the job hunt, it's a market, and the market is always 2 things, like what can you oh god, I'm missing a word, sorry. Demand and Angebot und Nachfrage.
Supply.
Sorry?
You meant to say supply? Demand and supply?
Yeah, that works. Demand and supply. So the supply would be the jobs, and the demand is what jobs you're looking for. So this is also, but this is in a time frame. So this is the jobs that are available at the moment, and these are the people that are looking for jobs at the moment, and they have to match. So sometimes if you get a rejection, it has nothing to do with you. You were a perfect profile, and they might have hired you, but they already had someone else, and it's just a timing thing, and that's it. So if you keep these things in mind, it is not so hard to reject people as a recruiter, because you have to do it on a daily basis, and you have to do it with a mindset of you cannot give all of them a chance because there's not enough time. So you have to put the filters right. And on the other hand, I base my network, my connection with the candidates up on trust and respect. So if I had an interview with someone, like I've seen this person face to face or over Zoom, I'm calling them at least on the phone. I'm giving them a feedback. And if it's negative feedback, it's negative feedback. But I give them a feedback. Hey, this was really good. And this is another thing. I do know that if you're really looking for a job, for example, you want to relocate, you want to come to Germany, and you would take lots of jobs to start with, this has to fit on both sides. It is not just, hey, the company is offering jobs, so please come all to us and please beg for jobs. That's not the point, and that's not the case. So it's a matchmaking. So we're looking for someone that matches the job, and both sides have to be very clear that this would work out, especially if you're relocating. And you cannot just hire someone and then say, oh, actually, sorry, it doesn't really work. So you're stranded here now or whatever. It's even worse than trying to start from home. So sometimes you just have to believe in the rejection is also in your interest, because on some level they do not saw the match. Or as the recruiter, from the recruiter point of view, we do not see the match. Not because you're bad work, it's not your fault. It just doesn't fit together. For example, you have a company that is rather expecting overtime, lots of overtime, and you just said you have a family and you have a baby that you have to care for. That wouldn't work. You would burn out. So, or the other way around, like you said, hey, I'm a go-getter. I want a team. I want this and this and this. That's great. But this position we're offering, we're expecting and we're hoping for someone that can do the same job for 3 years, not wanting to develop. And some people want that. They just want to have a stable job so they can focus on more other things. And they just want to do this, want to get their money, a bit of security. So it's not always because the companies they want to reject. It's just a mismatch at some point.
Exactly. I totally agree with it. But when you said like you give the feedback, right? Do you have any situations where the candidates, get back to you? I mean, like why did you rejected me? Kind of an approach, and like some angry candidates. Did you see, and how do you handle this kind of a situation?
I have to say not so many times, actually. In my first days, a bit, but maybe also because of mistakes I made in my first career steps. For example, if you approach candidates with a profile that does not match the position. So you have a position let's say as a sales manager, and you're approaching someone that has the title sales manager. But if I would have looked at it correctly and pulled all the infos from his LinkedIn account or Xing, I would have known actually this guy's already a senior, and I just offered him a position that is kind of par, same level, or even maybe a little bit below, especially when we're talking about salary and income. And then I do get that they were frustrated at that point. No one got really angry at me, even after rejection. On the contrary, if you call the people, even if you have to reject them, but you give them a feedback and you build them up a little bit and saying, hey, this was great, and you're explaining them your cause and why, they're actually not happy but thankful, because it is not as hard. It's just having. So the worst thing you can do is send out an email and saying, hey, thank you for being here. No, this is over. Like, they're just left alone. This is a bit like a small breakup. The rejection, no one likes to get rejected. So what you can do is, and you should as a recruiter, you can try to make it less of a bad impact that you leave. Even if you had to reject them for good reasons, if you don't give them feedback, an answer, they don't know why. And also here in Germany in these times, it's not very clever to do so, because only because it didn't work out this time doesn't mean it's not working out next time. Maybe you have a better position that fits this candidate much better. Or, like I said, as a recruiter, you take your network with you. So if you go somewhere else working and you have other positions, like with the person has a background with, you can call them again and say, hey, you remember last time we talked, I have this for you now. And this works much better than just, let's say, pumping out automated rejection emails, for example.
Okay. That sounds good. Okay. Awesome. So let us shift to something more interesting. Okay. Let us discuss on the burning issue, the pandemic, the COVID.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, huge topic. I try to keep it a bit shorter. I know I can sometimes elaborate a lot. So
I think more. I mean, even me, you, and everybody are interesting. The only word that right now is more panicking is jobs, how they're impacting worldwide on this planet. So let us talk briefly on how this pandemic has impacted the European and the German recruitment actually.
Yes. So one word short, the impact was pretty big. For example, I have numbers, and I do talk with other recruiters. I would say that it went down in the first 2 months down to 30%. So it decreased by 70%. So that is a lot. Some companies, yes, some companies they struggled really hard. I think what all companies did was playing it safe at first. There have been hiring stops, hiring freezes all over Germany in different industries, and from startups to global corporations. But the good news is it's getting back to normal. So I would say we're taking up momentum again. So I would say it's back to 50%, maybe 60 right now. Also, normally in Germany, because we have summer in July, August, that's the slowest time in recruiting because people are on vacation and no one's really looking for jobs. But it goes up again, so you can over each year there's a buzz in recruiting going up and down. So in spring, February rather than spring, it goes up a bit, and then kind of has a plateau, and then in July, August it goes down because the people are in their vacation, and the hiring departments are not so staffed, and everything is a bit down. And then people coming back from vacation, first of all, they had some time away from their companies, and it was like, okay, that's it. Finally, I think about it. I'm going away, and they're looking for jobs. And it actually is like that. Also, you have to keep in mind in the fall, and that is the bigger peak, I would say, around September, October, the whole economy is picking up again because it's getting close to the end of the quarter. We have to reach our goals. And it's like, okay, hire more people. And it picks up again. And then it kind of picks up, and around Christmas, people are not keen to really change jobs again. Doesn't mean that no one is changing jobs, but there's already a kind of valley again, and then it picks up after that. So this is the normal rhythm. COVID completely messed that up. So hiring picks up momentum again, and I am very confident that to September, October, so fall again, we will pick up close to 100%, hopefully. I mean, no one knows these days, but I wouldn't be surprised because we can see economy didn't have that much of an impact yet in Germany. In Germany, I'm talking about Germany. So the people are getting less. They're playing it less safe, not with the COVID thing, but with work-related things. So, okay, home office works for now. We can kind of be as productive for most companies, not for all of them. We can kind of work on like this, so we can grow, or we can, or we lost people due to the pandemic because I don't know, they did lose their jobs and they have to be replaced. So you always have a fluctuation. So it picks up again. I'm pretty confident, but the impact has been there, and we probably, and this is interesting for our viewers and listeners, the international recruiting had an even bigger impact because lots of these contracts only work with visas or blue cards. All the embassies have been closed. We had people in the process before COVID got really bad. They didn't make it here, and we had to kind of started them from home because they couldn't get their blue card. Or if they had it, they couldn't just get into a plane and come here because of lockdowns and airlines are not flying in from some countries. So and this is still not really over. The good news is here in Germany, the agency that deals with the blue cards and visas, they kind of transformed everything into a remote office as well. But you have to have one contact point when you pick it up at least. So you have to go in there. They want to see your passport. They say, aha, this is you. Please sign it. So you have to have one contact, which wasn't able to provide, like, let's say 3-4 weeks ago. Because all of the offices were closed. They didn't want to spread COVID within the agency or other agencies, and everything was closed. So this is picking up, but the problem is, before that, they were overworked. They had too much workload. So there was already between 4, 6, 8 weeks of waiting time. They couldn't really process that. And now all the companies, some of them hired still people, and they all need visas and blue cards. So this process takes a long time.
A long time, yeah.
So international recruiting got impacted even worse. I heard some recruiters, they focus on the EU market, speaking or meaning they only hire people from within the EU. They don't need a blue card or a working permit for Germany.
When we talk about this, we are back and we might be doing good. So what do you think? I mean, like, I think Germany did very well compared to all other countries fighting the COVID. What do you think, really? I mean, seeing the statistics, the numbers and all, I was like, I'm super proud to be in Germany.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, so what do you think? So the bounce back of economy, the way they handled compared to other countries, what do you think? Like, did Germany did a great job? Do you think so?
So first of all, I'm completely with you. I think we can be very happy being in Germany. If you look at the numbers per se, I think Germany did lots of lots of things the right way. For example, testing. I think we were one of the first countries that implemented lots of testing. Therefore, you could detect the people that are sick and just isolate them or tell them, hey, stay at home. I think this was great. On the other hand, I do understand that other countries didn't have the chance because these tests, especially at the beginning, they were they were expensive, especially if you have to scale it in numbers like, I don't know, some thousands, 10,000s. So some countries probably couldn't really afford that because the healthcare system wasn't maybe as like had that much of resources to do it. So yes, I'm happy as well. Also, I think we learned from other countries that got hit first and learned from their mistakes and took it seriously, more seriously. On the other hand, we're in the middle of Europe. If you, for example, take the UK, they could have just shut everything down, let no one in from the outside. Other very isolated countries did this as well, and they could have dealt with it this way and had much less cases. They could have done that, but they didn't. So Germany never had the chance. So I think they closed the borders. I have to admit, I wasn't here in Germany at that time. I was stuck in New Zealand, which kind of gave me an outside point of view on the whole thing, like how are other countries approaching that. And because we planned that trip for a long time, and then this COVID thing came up and got worse and worse and worse. And I was like, oh fuck, how is this gonna affect us in traveling? And should we even travel for a trip that was planned for almost 3 years and something? Anyway, so I researched into the whole thing and always had an eye on it. But I have to admit, when I was in New Zealand, I didn't really saw every step of what Germany did. But after I came back, I did. And it kind of worked out. But I think people here falling into a bit of a false safety feeling, because they say, hey, Germany, it's pretty easy. I mean, look at other countries, they have much more losses. We're doing good, so they're not as careful as they should be. I think some of them are still in denial. They don't really see a threat here because it didn't hit us as bad as other countries. That's true. And so yeah, I agree with you. Germany did lots of things right. Let's see how the people are behaving in the end. I totally understand that this is a situation that is super tough. Me personally, I can kind of deal with it. I can work from home. I like working from home. I have done this before, over months and years even. So I have my setup, I have my routine. Doesn't mean I'm not suffering a bit here. Like I had, when I came back, I had to isolate at home for 2 weeks. And then after 3 weeks, I realized, you're 3 weeks in here, you haven't even left your flat. Like, okay, and you're allowed outside again. It's like, okay, yeah, time to get out. So I can be a couch potato if I have to. So I can deal with this, but I totally understand people that need conversations. They are more eccentrical. No, more. They need people to just thrive, and they socialize. Thank you. Yes. And their state of mind go a bit bad if they're just isolated at home. And I totally understand them. They can't do it. But on the other hand, I think too many people are not taking it seriously or serious enough at the moment. And well, I'm just hoping the second wave doesn't hit us too hard.
Yeah, that's true. That I agree with it, because even I'm an introvert, so I like to spend more time at home. So it doesn't gives me a difference that working from home is bad. But I see people around me saying like, oh my God, I need to go out. I don't know why people get suddenly this urge during the pandemic to go out for a vacation. It's like super strange.
You're right. It's probably one of these effects. Like if you have something, for example, in your room, and someone takes it away from you, and you want it back. It's like, no, I want to have this now, and now I'm paying attention to it. So it kind of gets into your focus again if something gets taken away, because one of the things that keep you happy is not the opportunity, but the possibilities you have in life. Like you can go to the cafe, you can go to the movies, or you can go clubbing, or you can exercise outside.
Okay.
Yes, I could all do that. And what do? You end up on the couch watching Netflix. So, but if someone takes all that away from you, then the couch with Netflix is not so appealing anymore, even though that was your favorite thing before. That's my case.
That's true. Okay. And when we are discussing about this thing, Germany economy coming back, and we are forecasting a good signs and all, but it made some effect, right? Anyway, the COVID already made some effect on many companies already. Do you think in long term, like coming in next year or 2 years, this is going to be still have an effect? I mean, like, because there are so many companies which haven't recovered their losses. They have huge losses, especially domains like travel and other domains. Like, do you think like in coming next 2-3 years, this is going to impact long term on hiring and recruitment?
Yeah. Oh, that is actually a question for an economist, or like someone with a PhD in economics, and like the whole, because it's so many layers and so many variables. If you ask me, well, the longer it takes, of course, the bigger the impact is, especially not so much on Germany, but we're very prone, or depending on export our goods, and if other countries, other economies do not survive and not asking for our products anymore, of course it will hit us really bad as well. And you can already tell. I mean, yes, the first quick thing, like German stock market went up again and is very close to what it has been before. Not very close, but close what it has been before. But the long-term effects, this was just the first hit. Long-term effects, I cannot tell. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if we kind of and like if we're hitting like some harder times now. I wouldn't be surprised. But hey, if I know all these things, I would make money on the stock market already. So I'm not so good with this.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, if we know, we would have invested. So I'm going to ask you a really interesting question, the question from my side, and you are the right person to answer. See, so this thing, the COVID is super unprecedented. Nobody knows, nobody has an action plan, nothing, right? So as a HR, when this got hit, we are hit with COVID, what are the steps as a HR that you took? Because there are things like you should be responsible to the people who are already working in the company, because they will be in super panic situation about their jobs, and also the hiring and recruitment also affected, right? So what kind of any new steps or strategies that you followed during this unprecedented pandemic?
In terms of recruiting or in general HR terms?
In general HR terms, I mean, like your relationship, maintaining the relationship with your employees in the company, right? Because they are going 100% remote, and also
Yes.
the requirement also so how you handled it?
Yes. Good point. The first thing, and I have to admit, I could say a bit proud that our company reacted pretty quick. I don't want to go into details here, but they were pretty quick of sending people into the home office and also providing them with all the things they need. For example, well, this is my home office. As you can see, I'm sitting on a really nice chair here. That's not mine.
Yeah, mine
so
too.
the company provided that, and if you sit 8 hours at least at the desk, at least you got to sit comfy and not on a kitchen chair or something.
Yeah.
So that was really nice. They provided everything. Like I said, I haven't been there when these measurements got taken into actions. And I haven't been involved in the planning, but they did a really good job. So I have all the hardware here I need to do my job. All I have to do was providing internet, and that's it. And that's easy. Also, they changed processes, for example, meeting online, like all of the other companies. And recruiting process got adopted to it. Normally, you have the first telephone interview in the steps after screening, and then you have a face-to-face. So you invite this person into the company to meet with, let's say, the hiring manager at least. And we made this completely remotely. And it works well. The people like it. I have never had someone not being punctual on that. That is actually interesting, because so far when I made appointments for telephone interviews, there was every now and then someone, and I couldn't reach on the phone because he forgot, even though I was sending an invitation, everything. Now that it's video based, I don't know, they take it more seriously or whatever. No one has been late yet. So I might stick to that in the future.
So you're seeing some advantages during COVID in hiring?
Well, process-wise, yes. Advantages or
I mean, like what I mean is like, see, because in the market also, I think like you can find more skilled people right now, because I mean, like we should not think as it as a positive sign, because it's people losing jobs, but still.
Yes. But you can still say it as a positive thing. So that companies basically lost everything in this crisis, and that's why it is a crisis. Is sad, but that doesn't mean that the people have to stay without a job. So the job market in Berlin is always, you kind of need to look a bit around to find a skilled worker. Of course, you could hire someone, but you don't want someone, you want the right person. As I mentioned earlier, the reason that has to have skills and soft skills and then fit the team and things. So yes, there are more people out there. I can definitely say that, but on the other hand, if you're looking for a specialist, kind of, you wouldn't really find them. It's harder to approach them. Well, you can approach them, but they're not so keen to change jobs because we're in a crisis. Everyone is a bit more more cautious, as in, oh, I don't know your company. Why should I change? So yes, you do get more applications for some things. Doesn't mean the quality is much better. Yeah, that's basically it. So there are more people on the job hunt at the moment, a little bit. In some things it makes it easier, but in other positions it got harder, because you cannot find the people that really fit the job.
Okay. So let us take COVID out of the equation and let us discuss how are the job opportunities on a whole in EU and also in Germany.
Before COVID or?
Yeah, before COVID and how it is after COVID.
Oh, okay. So before COVID, international job opportunities. So if you want to relocate to Europe, it really depends on your profile. I guess what you need to bring is a degree in a certain field, and I can rather speak for Germany here. Other countries, they would look for universities rather and big names. So do not quote me really on that, but I think if you went for the UK market, I know that's not the EU really anymore, but I would just because it was pre-COVID. So I think the UK, they are more impressed by big names. So really good university degrees, big companies, things they know and heard of. This would impress. In Germany, I wouldn't say it doesn't have an impact, but not so much, especially if you're looking for Berlin and startup. They're rather going for, has this person the skills we're looking for? And where do you see these skills? Has he ideally done something like that before? So if you're looking for a backend developer in a certain language, you ideally have the ask amount of years in backend development in this language. Also, for a blue card, you would need a university degree that is recognized by Germany. The good thing is they recognize most of the international universities, but you can also look it up. You wouldn't need to have that in order to get your blue card. Or what you also could do is, that makes sense. So yeah, this works. So pre-COVID, I think there was a good chance. I do not know, I have to say, I do not know about the US market because I am not working on the US market, on the international market a little bit, especially if you're working here in Berlin. You hear from your friends a lot and you kind of get in contact with it. So before that, I think there were good chances, depending on what you're looking for. If I can give you an advice on how to pick a country, I wouldn't go for a country, but I would go for a big city. This is not so easy to understand, and it's a bit of a hard topic because it's about political correctness. But let's just say big cities, they are more, the mindset is a bit more developed, so they're more metropolitan. They're less racist. So I wouldn't pin it down on countries and say, hey, you have your best chances in Germany or you have your best chances in Austria. They're two really good countries to work in, especially in tech. But also the UK. Well, it's not the EU, but London. But sorry, also the UK. But I would focus on big cities because they have an infrastructure, they have a demand. If you have to switch jobs, if you have to, because of whatever reason, you have a better chance to do it in big cities. So if you want to have an advice on these things, when hiring is picking up even more, stick with big cities. Don't really stick with smaller cities and other countries. So best cities to go job hunting for is definitely London. If you want to be in the EU, I say in tech, I guess Paris, Barcelona, Berlin. In Germany also Frankfurt first, Stuttgart, Hamburg. Yeah, you could consider that depending on the field. And I mean that would be my personal.
Yeah, I think that's great because that was my next question also, like which countries you would suggest the non-EU people to target, but you gave a clear answer about the cities. And one thing I really would like to share my experience also on that, because even when I started searching, Germany was my best option when I googled it. which EU country to for the for the immigrants, it would be very good. But I really concentrated on Berlin because I heard there are a lot of startups in Berlin, and they have a very open culture and very aggressive work culture. So that's
Yes.
how I ended up in Berlin. I think it's really good advice to the audience also who are actually looking for jobs in EU, who are non in EU. You actually need to concentrate more on the cities and big cities with good work culture.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
That's great.
And Berlin is pretty good with an open mindset and a good cultural background. So Germany basically is missing. You hear these numbers every now and then, but more than 50,000 skilled workers in IT, for example, like all over Germany. And startup industry is a good starting point in Berlin to make your first steps, get to know the country a bit, and like all the weird things about Germany as well. And if you like it, if you can cope with it, basically, then from there on, you can also move to other cities, and I don't know, just try to how do you say, well, integrate sounds a bit like you have to integrate, but just arrive, basically. Arrive and feel welcome. So there's more options than just Berlin, but Berlin is a very good starting point,
Yeah, true. Okay, so we discussed about cities, right? Which cities to target. Let's go in deep and let me ask you something. If you would like to say which skills are in demand in German and Europe, what would the top skills you would say?
It really depends on the field and industry. So I cannot say for tech. I don't know. I think you need to be able to, first of all, be adaptable. I think this is the biggest trait. Not in your skill set that you change your background, your languages, your expertise. No. But adaptable to not everything might be as you thought it would be. So if you come here, but there will be things completely different, and you will have to be able to adapt. So maybe you do not get, I don't know, this flat that you dreamed of here, or the job that you kind of thought that you wanted. They offered you something else, still good enough, but not what you wanted. So kind of have to work your way up. I don't think it works out from the beginning. So you work on a degree, you have some experience in the background, and you get that job that you always dreamed of, and that's it. And then you just go up the ladder. I don't really think it's like that, especially not in startup culture in Berlin. You have to be a bit flexible with these things, and also you have to have a bit patient. You probably read lots of things, and I don't know, blogs and posts from other people how it went with them. It can only be like a kind of a very
unclear. I mean, like a
brief,
very brief. It would be
brief direction of how it could be. And if you stay flexible and you can adopt, I think that's the best trait to have. On top of, and I'm not going to lie here, you have to have a pretty good profile, as in you already have some experience in the field that you start working here, and passion, ideally, because you have to take this passion every now and then, and I don't know, maybe do a bit more or just to get to the next level.
True, I agree. So let us focus on the topic. And what do you actually go through? I mean, like, can you just walk us through what was the regular process or like normal process when you hiring a candidate from abroad?
So first of all, screening the profile, as in this person applied for a position, because there's two different ways of how to get the job. Either you apply for it or you get contacted. So I think it is most common, if you're not already in Germany, then you might get contacted. It's most common that this person has applied for this job, screening the profile first. If I can get a tip, and maybe someone can answer that from the chat or whatever. If you apply in Germany, use a PDF. Rather do not use a Word document or something else. I don't know, maybe other countries, they prefer a document. In Germany, it's a PDF, guaranteed. And if you see that, and from a recruiting point of view, you want to see, okay, I have these requirements, and I have the CV here. And then you want to check. It's like, okay, has, I don't know, Python. Something easier. Python, so many years. Check. Or has some experience in a certain industry, for example, in pharma or in automotive, and you check the background. So the better you match for a position, the better your chances are. But I think that's not a secret. And but at first, the recruiter has to read your CV, and I think this is crucial. At first, the recruiter has to read your CV. In some companies, recruiting is not really done by very skilled recruiters. Some smaller companies, they cannot afford that, and it has to be done either by a working student, or it has to be done by the department. I mean, I would trust the department by looking at tech things, definitely. Like probably better than some recruiters, unless the tech recruiters. But your CV has to have two things. It has to show every details that you can basically throw in to apply for this job, as in, hey, yes, I work with Python and I have automotive background. Look at these things, and I did a project here. So you really have to read a job description, and then sometimes even alter your CV to it to point out why you're a good match. If no one sees that, they cannot screen for it. That's the first thing. So you have to keep it very clear, structured. So even someone, just pick it from a point of view, then someone that does not really have an idea about this whole thing can understand what you have done. This way you get past the recruiter. Some of the recruiters. The tech recruiters will get you anyways, but some of the recruiters that are not so fit with this. And then your CV also has to state all the details that the department, the people that you will work in the future with, and they know their stuff. They can see into the deeper details of it. So, Python, but what with Python? What have you done here? And in the automotive industry, what was it? You worked on, I don't know, engineering or I don't know, it was automotive, but it was an SAS thing. These things also have to point out in this way you get through the two processes. And first would be like a first interview with HR in this case. So HR probably screens for some vital things, as in, hey, can you explain all the infos you cannot derive from the CV? The first call is about 30 minutes. So you deep dive as a recruiter a little bit into, hey, you mentioned this here. This is interesting. Can you explain that? And then it goes into deep. And it's like, actually, that is even better than expected. Or actually, that is not what we're looking for. And you also, as in HR, you try to identify, what does it take us to get this person here? So what is your papers? Do you have a blue card? No. You need help with one? Okay. What time do you want to start? What is your salary expectations? These things. This would be the second one. Then there's a technical interview with the department. That is very common in the company that I have been, in the companies that I've been working for. A lot of these times with a challenge. So if we're talking tech, then you have to prepare to get a challenge. Either you have to build something and post it on GitHub or Stack Overflow, or they will give you a link to a test. And there's lots of companies that providing tests for computer languages. and you have to take the test, you get rated, and in the end, they're going to compare the ratings to other candidates. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. He actually has enough experience with Python. And then in the last step, there is in our case, and lots of companies I've worked with, there is a interview where you meet your team members, so they get an impression, because the cultural fit is also a very
super important
thing. So you want to know, like, who are going to be my co-workers, and the other way around. Like, you want to say, hey, we hire someone, we relocate him here, and he's supposed to work with us. We want to know, what is this type of person? Can we imagine working with her, him, whatever? So this would be all the processes, and then offer stage, basically talking about the details of salary, starting date, these things, relocation package.
Okay. Actually, thank you so much for sharing that information. I really need to add one more point, my own experience, because you highlighted the point about the CV, the format, the PDF, right? That is really super important, because I was one of the guy who actually had a problem also with it, because when I was trying to apply from India, I really don't know the format, German format, and I used to send the document. I even, however, the better the CV is, but I still used to get rejections on like 5 or 3. So I couldn't able to understand why it was happening, until I found that you need to follow a particular format. It should be in PDF. Then I started getting acceptance. So it is very super important, audience, that you follow the format of what is the how is the profile you should it should look like, and what skills, how you need to incorporate in your CV. That is really important for your application. So keep it in your mind. So jumping on to the next question.
Can I just add one last skill that is super critical in Germany, and every country has their own skill sets they really want to see in the CV. In Germany, it is you can basically work on yourself. So self-sustained. Sorry, I'm missing the word here. Self-sustained work. So basically, if someone gives you a task, you can work on it without having to ask how I should do this, how I should do this. This is all over Germany. Doesn't matter the industry. Doesn't matter if it's a startup. It's even worse than a startup. Like, they're really looking for that. Or global corporation. You have to be able to work by yourself on your own. Doesn't mean you will be alone. You still have to be a team member. But if they give you a task, they expect you to do it yourself, and you can follow it up. This is one of the things you should highlight in a CV if you're applying for a position in Germany.
Okay. And can you tell us, like, what should be the ideal format on a layout, like how it should be? Because I think, like, it is the most important thing for anyone to apply.
So we do have a standard format for that in Germany. Like, everything is standardized in Germany. There is a format for that. It's called DIN 5008. So 5008.
Okay.
The good thing is, recruiting changed a lot in the last 10 years. So in the 90s, if you haven't had that exact template and you wouldn't follow it, that would have been enough to be rejected. These days, especially in startup, it's not so important. Like, so there's basically not a real form. Make sure your name is on there. Make sure you have your CV in there, as in all the steps you did. It doesn't matter if you count your professional ways first or the academic one. If you're a junior and you do not have so much experience yet, well, first of all, I have to tell you, it's gonna be hard to apply for junior positions in Germany. Why? A blue card in IT can only be given out if the person earns at least, I think at the moment it's 46 already. 46,000 euros. It changes every year. Like, they adopt it every year. It's a bit more. So next year it's going to be, I don't know, 47. And for some companies that is already too much for a junior position in tech. depending on the role and the background and everything. So even though they're looking for a junior, they could give you a blue card unless they would pay you more than their budget might be. I don't know. It depends really on the company, on the budget. You have a better chance with global corporations because first of all, they pay a little bit better than startups. That is normal. But the job won't be as versatile. The learning curve is not as great, and you're not going up as quick as in a startup. So in a global corporation, to go on senior level can take you 6-7 years. In startup, can be after 4. So to apply to a junior level can have the problem, even if you would be okay with earning less than 46,000 euros, they cannot hire you because you wouldn't qualify for a blue card. And without a blue card, without a working permit, they cannot hire you at all. So it could be a trick if you studied in Germany and finished your degree here, because then you would qualify for a job seeker visa. So if you have this opportunity, if you have that chance, that is a good way into the market because first of all, you're already in Germany, so you can start sooner. You have a job seeker visa, and you're already known to German culture a bit. But you have to study in Germany for at least, well, you have to finish your degree here on a German university. But the good part is, I think it's for free, at least for EU citizen. I'm not sure about international ones. Sorry, I don't know that actually. Yeah, sorry, you would need to look that up. But it might be for free. So yeah, but that's basically it. So it's not as easy to find these jobs on this level if you want to apply, and how to structure your CV, put the infos in there, name, address. Sometimes I get CVs. There's no info in there except the name and the last 3 companies that person did. There may be a degree, and then how should I get any infos from that? And then I look these people up on LinkedIn, and there's everything there. It's like, why don't you put that into the CV? So don't be too
make the HR life easy.
Yeah, just put all, because this is basically selling you to someone, not as in selling, but if you have achieved things, put it in your CV. Use a PDF. It boosts your options. And this is another problem. I know there are companies out there where you can just apply with your CV, and you have to set up your template once, and then you can use this and apply to different jobs in companies. Sometimes technically that doesn't really work. I can see this on Indeed, which is a big platform here in Germany. There's not all the infos in there people need. So it's always a good idea to apply for a job that you really want by PDF directly.
So talking about the platforms, right? Usually which platforms you post, or like mostly European and German companies use for international hiring?
Yes, so definitely LinkedIn. It's like the biggest thing, and we have kind of a German or German, Austria, and Swiss focus network called Xing, Xing. It's rather for old economy German speakers, I would say, or German speakers in general, but recruiters tend to go more and more on LinkedIn. I have to say that LinkedIn, the terms and conditions are super harsh. They don't fool around. So this is very great if you direct search with candidates. Also, what doesn't really make sense, I get this a lot actually, don't send your CV to a recruiter. I have worked with people, they wouldn't even accept that, and they won't accept your friend request, your network request. I don't think that's the right approach. I always connect with people, but I also encourage them to put their CV through the normal process, because
Okay.
recruiters don't have time to look at your CV. Even if you approach them directly, this won't work.
Okay.
Maybe
Okay.
with an agency and they like a headhunter, maybe,
Mhm.
but your profile has to be really good.
Okay.
With an in-house recruiter, I can tell you 99% it doesn't work. So don't waste
Okay.
your time. And actually, that's not how we deal with this. Like you can approach them with questions, but it would kind of be, hey, everyone is applying through the website, so
Mhm.
why should you apply directly through me? But maybe people handle this differently. But I
Okay.
hear that lots of recruiters, they don't like that. So I wouldn't recommend that.
Prefer. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this international hiring, is it like 100% on freeze in EU and German right now, or still happening somewhere?
It's not 100%, no.
Okay.
Some companies, they're still going through that. You have to calculate lots of delays in there. Like I said,
Mhm.
all the agencies are participating in the process of handing out blue cards. They are overworked. They're working from home. This is a new situation for them as well. And
Okay.
so the whole process is delayed. Recruiters know, yes, hiring has decreased a lot, but it's also
Okay.
picking up again. So I wouldn't say, hey, don't apply at all. That's not the case, but please expect you have to be even more patient than usual.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, that's what the situation is. You can't really change that due to COVID.
But the really when we're talking about the visas, right? Because when we are onboarding from international resources, so the main issue would be visas, and the embassies in most of the countries are like closed or like on temporary basis of working. Even if things come to normal, there would be a huge lot of people in the queue who has to go to the embassy and get the visas, right?
Yeah.
So how far, I mean, like in how many months do you think this international hiring will come into normal terms?
I'm just trying to figure out like how much time they had to set up new processes, then working on them, and then opening it up. So maybe in 3 months they could go back to normal, but normal was already meaning they were delayed 2 months. So
Okay.
if you're going for an application for a blue card, it took them 8 weeks in general. Sometimes it was much quicker. I had people saying, hey, I got mine in 2 weeks, but I had someone here, she just had to write her existing blue card to a different company.
Okay.
It took them 3 months. So it really depends. It really depends. Yeah.
But how I mean, like how long do you think the companies will be open for applications? I mean, like right now, I think most companies are only recruiting resources within the country or like within EU, but not outside EU, right? So how long do you think it will take to companies actually to open for application for non-EU people?
So all of them, because some already doing it. It's not like they're all locked down. It's going to pick up again, but how long this takes, I can't tell. I wouldn't know. But yeah, so I think global corporations, they are a bit more, the process is a bit stronger and their needs are a bit bigger. So they say, hey, we need, let's say, I don't know, 50 developers. They're going to hire 50 developers. Doesn't matter how long it takes. So they still do it. So if you see something that looks good for you, that's a position, just apply for it. But be aware that it can take longer than what your friends have experienced 10 months ago.
Okay, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Okay. So talking about the international recruitment, right? See, one thing actually really surprised me is like the remote work. Because before COVID, right, everybody was skeptical about remote work. I mean, like everybody wants to afford an office and have people, but COVID somehow it erases the misconception that you don't need to be in office to be productive, right?
Yeah.
So, do you think this is going to affect how it's going to affect on the office environment.
Yes.
Are the people are going to really come back to offices? Even the companies, do they really want to spend this expensive money and having offices? Do you think so?
Yeah. I definitely see it as an impact. I think this COVID was a stress test, a field test of a home office, basically.
True.
So they don't have any chances, or they no choices. They don't have any choices but to send everyone home. Otherwise, they probably have gotten sick, or the risk was just too high, or they would have quit their jobs because they didn't feel safe. You also have to put that into mind when you making these decisions. So the impact was, and I can only speak for my company, it's working out pretty well. On the other hand, there are jobs that you cannot do from home. Like I mentioned before, production line, like you have to assemble a car, you cannot do this from home. There is ways of countering that. You can work in shifts. So you basically, I mean, they're already doing that in the automotive industry, like everything is super efficient. And but if you have to adjust it to COVID, which is just, let's say it's a new rule in the game. And if you stick to that rule, you're gonna survive. If not, you're gonna take high risks. So you need to find ways. So you can have a shift system, as in saying, there's less workers on the shift, and the workers only working with the same workers. So worker A has only contact with worker B, and not with worker B, next day worker C and D, because that's the problem with COVID. You can be a spreader without having symptoms, or before developing symptoms, so you wouldn't even know, like, you have to reduce the numbers of people you're in contact with. That's the overall rule. And to implement that in a working environment, in digital, it's easy. Everyone goes home, fine. The people that have contact with customers, I mean, the customers don't want to be sick, but some things are just done better and face-to-face. I get it. But you can reduce that risk. So it is one person that goes to the customers, or they reduce it. Or, for example, in HR, we want to have at least one person in the office that is a contact person for people that came to the office, and we have reduced the number of people in our office to a very small number, following German guidelines, like rules now, especially in Berlin, like how many people can be in one room, keeping the distance. They have to disinfect and wash their hands when they enter. They have to, like, people that visit us, like outsiders of our company, they have to put down their address and name in case there's something going on. We can contact them, or the other way around. All these things. So if you implement these measurements, that works. To come back to your question, remote work, yes, it has an impact. And I think no one can say anymore really, hey, it's not working. Like in general, it does work. For some fields, you cannot just work from home. It's impossible. But you should be able to reduce the risk from two things. First, from the business side, and I'm always talking about business sides again, like business side, business side and people side. Business side, to reduce your risk of having a fallout of your workforce. So if you have a team, the whole team meets, one was sick and infected all the other, the whole team is gone. So who's going to take over? No one, because there's no one there. On the other side, you cannot do this to the people. Like people, they work, one of the biggest goods is their workforce themselves. If they suffer from COVID and they survive, or they have, well, COVID is prone, unfortunately, to also damage your body. So even if you survive it, you might have a long-term damage from it. Rare numbers, but it's a small risk. So from a worker's point of view, of course, you want to keep that risk low. So you don't want to be exposed for unnecessary risks. And I think this is so basically two needs and 2 points meeting each other. Like, there's no point in putting all the people back into the office if it's not super necessary, but you have to implement new processes. And I think lots of companies did, because they had to when it's working. And therefore they found a way to make it happen. But also, yes, go back into the office. First of all, and this is another thing that people that work from home and they like working from home, they don't really see, you get detached a bit from your team and from the company, because you don't see the people anymore. You don't see the people that you meet on the way to the coffee machine and just have a chat. And they say like, hey, last week you told me you at your birthday party, how was that? These are nice things that keep a working environment alive. And you also have to have these. And therefore you have to meet and run into people you do not normally see. Some companies try to do online meetings with the whole staff so they can start talking to each other and they keep in contact. Because in the end, if you don't do that, you might just end up a bit isolated, even though you're still a part of the team and you get detached from the company. You don't really feel it anymore, and that's also not great. And this is not a fear of the management thinking, oh, this person gets detached and he's going to another company, because they probably have the same thing. So everyone works isolated and remote. You're isolated and you're not part of a bigger team, at least not in your heart. Yes, on a structure and in an org chart and in a process, but there's more to that, to a team than that. So you have to meet people and every now and then say, hey, you looked down yesterday. Like, is everything all right? And if you don't have these possibilities, that's not good for the working culture as well. So yes, you do have to be in the office and see teammates from other departments, for example, but also still following keep the risk minimum. To not risk the individual and to make sure that the company can follow up their performance.
Yeah, actually that is true, because we actually need motivation and also a very good social interaction within the team. Otherwise, it would be really difficult to build an inspirational or motivational team at work. That is really important. But do you think companies will reduce the office spaces? Because if you look at the companies like Twitter and all, they said like you don't need to come to office anymore, right?
Yeah.
So do you think like non-essential works like IT, mostly IT, do you think like people will think like, okay, no, we know they can be productive at home, why to spend more money on the office structure and just keep them at home forever? Do you think like the company's mindset may change like that?
I don't think so at all. There's several things that would speak against this. Yes, you could reduce a little bit the costs of your office space. But on the other hand, you want to make sure that your workers can work. And some people, they don't have the environment. I mean, in my case, it works out fine. Other people have a family, but they don't have an office room. So when they work from home, and you have to keep in mind the schools were closed as well, and kindergartens for some time. They're open now again. The kids were at home. You probably know how kids are from I don't know, family, or when you were a kid yourself. As soon as there's an adult somewhere, they need attention and they're going to keep you from working. You need to give these people an opportunity to go into the office and work focused, to have focused work. There's no kid coming in, there's no telephone, you don't have, I don't know, your washing or whatever, and to keep terms if they can. If they have someone to look after the kids, maybe they switch with their partner or whatever. So you always have to do that. I don't think it's wise to reduce your office space right away, because first of all, we're going to go back, and at some point, it will take some months, but we're going to go back and just reducing that office space. Maybe you can figure out something as a temporary solution with your landlord, and but I don't think that's necessary, because ideally, hopefully, we're all going to come back, and also having a team at home, you still have to provide them with hardware and everything, and bringing people back into the office is another challenge for these companies, because they have to provide you with 2 office spaces, basically. So, for example, I'm looking into 2 monitors here. And when I'm going to work, I need 2 monitors. Otherwise, I'm not as productive as here.
Yeah.
So they have to set up 2 things. Doesn't sound so much. If you scale it with 1,000 people, that's lots of costs.
That's
so
right. Yeah.
You have to be flexible a little bit.
Flexible and
But
balanced.
I wouldn't say you can just, hey, this is working out. Let's just everybody stay home. It's not as easy. There's more to that. There's more to this than that.
Okay. So talking about remote work, how do you feel personally? So do you want to continue it? I mean, like, you want to come back to office? What do you like?
Oh, actually, to be honest, I do see some there's a pro and a contra towards it. So the contra would be, like I said, I miss my co-workers at work to just run into. It's like, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. How's it going? And also, for example, I have to work closely with my hiring managers, get their feedback on candidates, or check with them, hey, did everything stay the same? Like, are we still looking for this and that? And that's easier if you can just walk up to someone's desk. It's like, hey, do we have a minute? Yes. And then ask him or her these questions, like, yeah, do it like this. Cool. Don't have to write an email. This person maybe answers after 3 hours. And then I see it after 4 because I'm not checking my emails on a minute basis. So the processes are shorter when I'm in the office if the people are there and they have time for me. On the other hand, I am much more focused at home because, first of all, the door doesn't open to our office that I share with my colleagues, and something is going on. Doesn't involve me, but my colleague. But of course, I'm getting distracted, and if it's just for the first 30 seconds, and then I feel like, okay, my task, yes, here. And so I think I'm more productive from home. I also figured out, since I don't have to go to work, I'm happy personally. That is me personally. I'm happy with a little bit of overtime than usual because I'm saving time, not going to work. I mean, for example, people that in Berlin, you have to travel a little bit, so it can go up to, well, if you're up to an hour, I would say for a job, that's absolutely normal. So if you save 2 hours a day, I'm happy with putting in a little bit of overtime to compensate that and still have more time than before. So that is super nice. And like I said, I can work from home very well. Most of the contacts I have are with the candidates. They're relying on video or telephone. It's working for me. Everything else, like daily meetings, we still have daily meetings. We do via video calls. Works out so far pretty well. For example, my own performance hasn't gone down, even though with COVID and recruiting and everything. So it didn't change. It's just shifted to different levels.
Yeah. Even for me, it is actually working from home is like highly productive for me because I was saving this 1 or 2 hours of time and I was spending reading a book or something, and it was really valuable for me. I really think I really like working at home, but still I miss that coffee breaks, the talks I used to have with my colleagues at that coffee machine, the drinks at the office. I really miss them.
I miss the kicker and the tapas. Free food and Tischfußball is always nice.
I really miss them, really. Yeah.
And I enjoy our rooftop terrace. That's nice. Every now and then, just sitting down, just drinking and having a break. That's nice.
I really miss them. I really want to get together again at the office and like have a normal. I mean, like I think like remote work we should have, but it's not like continuous. But in breaks we should have, and we still have to come to office. It would be much better to have a social interaction. With people. I think it is really important. The workplace social interaction.
What's the last time you've been into the office?
I think like 2 weeks back, I have an issue with my laptop and I went to the IT department. Unfortunately, there are not many people from my department on that day. So, but maybe we are planning something like with the QA team to meet up at some time at the office, maybe next week or something. Hopefully.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. I think we are almost at the end of our session, but I really want to ask you one personal question.
Okay.
So I saw you worked your whole career in Berlin.
Most of it, yes. True.
Are you officially Berliner?
I'm not. Like 70 or 80% of the people here, as you say in German, zugezogen. So I moved here basically.
Okay.
No, but my granddad, he was a Berliner. He has been born and raised here, but then moved to a different town, and this is my hometown. It's just like 2.5 hours north from here.
Okay. If you want to choose another city or another country to work, which one would you choose?
Actually, I'm pretty happy here in Germany, and I think, and I have the most respect for people that relocate to a different country, having to deal with a new culture, with new work ethics maybe, and they still do it. I have the highest respect for them. I could only imagine doing this myself in English-speaking countries. Well, so my favorite would be probably Vancouver, Canada. Actually, I was thinking about it when I was younger. Like most Germans, they kind of have a thing for Canada. I don't know why. the nature, the preserved nature, and everything. So that would be cool, but I don't really see a chance there anymore. Like it would be tough.
You visited that place, Atlas?
Sorry, what?
You visited that place, Atlas?
No, I haven't even been there. That's the other thing. I have no idea what I'm dreaming of.
So it's still the wonderland for you.
It is a kind of a wonderland of a white canvas. So I have I can project everything on there, and everything is better in Vancouver. But I also would be interested in working maybe as an expert in Asian cities rather. So not so sure. Like I haven't really thought into this, but to maybe say how to set up an office. Like you have to be the first one there hiring people, for example, or set up an office for some months and then coming back. I don't really think about moving out of Germany at all. But it would be nice to have some more international experience and see other cultures. I would really like that.
Yeah, true. Okay, Michael. I think we are almost at the end of the session. So I would like to end the session saying thank you so much for attending. I mean, it is super exciting because not only audience, even I had so many questions about HR and recruitment, what is happening with COVID. I got so much of insights, which I will be sharing with my friends too. So it's really a super information that you have shared, very valuable content. So I really thank you so much again for having us, joining us on the show. And I really want to have you on the show again. Maybe, hopefully, let's see.
Oh yeah, I would love to be here again. Thanks for having me. And if you have any more questions, then let me know. I'll do my best.
Sure. Thank you so much. See you then.
Have a nice evening. Bye.
You too. Bye.